Otis Redding is one of those musicians who is now just cast in amber as this legend, and there's, like a statue. But you
Right.
knew him and hung out with him. Is there something about his personality and who he was that you feel like people don't get from the
Well, maybe he
records?
was just a good old country boy. That's all he was. He brought up in the country and he talked country. And the
Hmm.
funny thing about Otis is you had to be around him some to understand what he was saying, but he knew. And we actually put out a record one time called The Dictionary of Soul. And on the
Hmm.
back of it is some of the cliches that he would say and what he meant by saying that. And I can't remember all of them. I know ooh was one of them. And that
That's
was
an
used by
important
us.
one.
The same thing as saying, "Oh wow, that is really cool." He's ooh wow. But there's more there. I don't know. There's 10 or 12 things in there. It's real funny.
Yeah.
And you just get around him, and he was just a down home guy. But I always looked at Otis as an older brother, even though we were the same age. I did not know that until I read everything about him when he was born. He was born in September, and I was born in October. So
Hmm.
there's less than a month difference. We were both 26 when he died. And they said he
Wow.
did all that by the time he was 26. I said, yeah, it's amazing to me too.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, and that was so, I mean, it's such a horrific story, obviously, his passing and all of that. And obviously he left you and the rest of the team with these, obviously Sitting on the Dock of the Bay and these amazing songs. Was there any sort of, what was the thought and process? Because often when an artist passes and there's something phenomenal in the works, when they pass, there's that argument of do we just leave it in the bin or do we give it to the world? How did you decide to?
I have no idea. All I remember is that Jerry Wexler called from New York and talked to Jim Stewart, and Jim came to me and he said, "Steve, what do you got ready on Otis?" I said, "Nothing. We've been recording and nothing was finished." He said, "Well, get something ready. We got to put a record out." And I said, "What?"
Like,
We're
okay.
still, in deep mourning about Otis. And he said, "I don't care." He said, "You got to get something ready." That's probably the hardest thing I ever had to do.
It would have to be.
Mm.
I can't even imagine.
But I did it in a 24-hour period. I started at 7:30 on a Tuesday morning and handed it to a flight attendant on Wednesday morning at 7:30. She was flying to New York. She handed the master tape to an engineer, and he took it instead of going back to Atlantic. He took it straight to the pressing plant and put it in a pressing plant. And we had records out to the DJs by Christmas of that year.
Wow.
Did you
And then
actually
I
know
sort of
this flight
collapsed after.
attendant?
What?
Or what? Did you actually know this flight attendant? Or
No.
was it? Oh my
She was
gosh.
just on an airplane going to LaGuardia, and in those days there was no security. You could walk right out on the tarmac. She walked down the steps, and I handed her the master. She walked back up on the plane, and I
Wow.
took the steps up. So it is what it is.
That's also divine intervention. You picked the right
I
flight
remember
attendant.
the time. It was 7:30 to 7:30. 24 hours later.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I would have been panic stricken handing that. It's like I would have
Well,
carried it like my
it was
baby.
a tough one, but I got through it. We did it, and it probably was bigger because of Otis's death. But they said the song would have never made it had he not gone. I disagree. We knew that song was a hit 2 weeks before it. We just knew it.
Yeah. No.
And you just have an inkling. You don't know it when you're cutting it, but you know when you've done it and you listen to it back, you say, that's a hit. So,
Right. Yeah. No, that song
and
is.
if it isn't, it isn't. But if it is, then you were right. And that's all you can say about it.
Wow.
So
Well,
I
that's
think if it was a hit anyway, it probably was bigger because he had passed away.